he brings up a good point, and that is the question of how attorneys are selected for defendants. For the longest time, the way that happens, if you're accused of a crime which you may not have committed and you can't afford your own attorney, the judge will select your attorney. Now, of course, we want to think that the best attorneys are selected, but that's simply not the case. There was an independent study done, and in fact, the New York Times published an article based on that academic study, a couple of academic studies, that showed that when the attorney was selected by the judge, the outcomes were much worse as compared to when the defendant was assigned a public defender. And we can surmise why, right? There's an incentive for attorneys who churn through cases quickly, clear out the docket quickly, to be selected. And those attorneys may not work as thoroughly as a public defender. We've seen evidence of some attorneys who are assigned a number of cases well beyond the professional standards, well beyond what any professional, as effective as they are, could possibly handle. We have stories of defendants who never heard from their attorney, whose attorney didn't recognize them in the courthouse, in the courtroom. And so the outcomes that we see, unfortunately, is people not having the representation that they deserve. And we know which communities are on the losing side of that. And so for that reason, there's a system that's created in the state that we can do manager-assigned counsel, where it'll be an unbiased way to appoint those attorneys. Right now, there's a system called the wheel, which technically is supposed to be unbiased, but in practice, the judge just chooses the attorney. And
usually that's a friend of the judge or contributor, or, you know, it's always some alternative that they are using as opposed to the fairness that you're speaking of.
Well, and that's the concern, right? Is for better or worse, the judges take contributions from attorneys that appear in front of them. And so for me, there shouldn't even be the appearance of a conflict of interest. And so if that's going to be the case, then at least they shouldn't be having that ability to appoint those same attorneys that are contributing to the campaign. For my part, in the county, I don't take contributions from folks who do any business with the county or are planning on doing business with the county for that reason, because I don't want there to be any questions as to whether there may be a conflict of interest. But of course, that's for the judges to decide. What we can do is say, at least these attorneys should be appointed in a completely unbiased way based on the merits of the attorneys. And then once we have the attorneys that we know are good and are not having a higher workload than they really can handle and deliver for their clients, then it should just be random. And
you can also use the public defender's office a little bit more too, right?
Right. So the best outcomes are from the public defenders. That's been studied by academics, independently shown. The public defender's office has much better outcomes. And so we need to use it. We have made a plan and investments so the public defender's office will be able to handle at least 50% of cases. You always want some private attorneys because the public defender may have a conflict for whatever reason. And it's just good to have both. But in general, the public defender should be taking the bulk of those cases. And so we can do that, but we only can to the extent that the lawyers actually use the public defender's office, that the judges actually use the public defender's office, manager-assigned counsel. So what we're doing right now, the misdemeanor judges, we need to thank them. They have done that, tied their own hands for the sake of being responsible, being responsive to the community, being just, and adopted this manager-assigned counsel system. They're using the public defender a lot more. And so we are we hope to get the judges, the felony judges, the other judges to do the same thing.